Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. At the Bash in Berlin Premium Live event, Rhea Ripley and Damian defeated Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. On Twitter/X, the Eradicators sent a three-word message after the Terror Twins' victory. The feud between the Terror Twins and the Judgment Day began at the SummerSlam Premium Live event. At the biggest party of the summer, Ripley was betrayed by Mysterio, and Priest was betrayed by Finn Balor. On Twitter/X, Ripley sent a three-word message, reacting to the WWE Universe dedicating a sign to her at the event. Rhea Ripley was forced to relinquish the WWE Women's World Championship after her victory over Becky Lynch at WrestleMania XL. Morgan eventually won the title, defeating the man at the King and Queen of the Ring Premium Live event. Following Ripley's return, she unsuccessfully challenged Morgan for the title at SummerSlam. Bash in Berlin marked the Eradicator's first victory since returning to the company after her long-term injury, as she pinned the reigning WWE Women's World Champion. A rematch between Ripley and Morgan could be in the books for Bad Blood. It remains to be seen what plans WWE has in store for the future. Rhea Ripley stood in the dimly lit hallway backstage at the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin, her chest still heaving from the adrenaline of the match. The roar of the crowd still echoed in her ears as she leaned against the cold concrete wall, the WWE Women's World Championship slung over her shoulder. Beside her, Damian adjusted his Money in the Bank briefcase, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips. They had done it. They had won. The atmosphere backstage was electric, a mixture of jubilation and exhaustion hanging in the air as superstars, referees, and crew members buzzed around, some congratulating the winners, others preparing for the next match. But in this moment, it was just Rhea and Damian, basking in the afterglow of their hard-fought victory. The match had been grueling, a tag team showdown that tested every ounce of their strength and resolve. Their opponents, a formidable duo of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, had given them everything they had. But in the end, it was Rhea and Damian who stood tall, proving once again why they were the most dominant forces in WWE today. Rhea glanced at Damian, who caught her eye and nodded. There was no need for words, they both knew what this win meant. It wasn't just another victory, it was a statement. A message to the entire WWE Universe that the Judgment Day was stronger than ever, and they were not to be underestimated. As she pushed off the wall, her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. The future was uncertain, the landscape of WWE constantly shifting, but one thing was clear, she and Damian were unstoppable. And tonight, they had proved it. With a determined stride, Rhea made her way to the gorilla position, where the media was already gathered, eager for post-match reactions. She could feel the eyes of the WWE Universe on her, waiting for her next move, her next words. This was her moment, and she knew exactly what she wanted to say. Damian fell in step beside her as they approached the microphone set up for the post-match interviews. The flashes of cameras lit up their faces, capturing every expression, every emotion. Rhea could see the anticipation in the reporters' eyes, the way they leaned forward, ready to hang on to her every word. But Rhea wasn't one for long speeches. She didn't need to explain herself or justify her actions. Her dominance in the ring spoke for itself. All she needed was 3 words. With a steely gaze, she stepped up to the microphone, the WWE Women's World Championship gleaming under the bright lights. She could feel the energy of the crowd outside, still buzzing from the match, still chanting her name. She let the anticipation build for a moment, savoring the tension, before leaning in close to the microphone. The arena fell silent, the world seemingly holding its breath as Rhea Ripley, the Nightmare, uttered 3 simple words that sent shockwaves through the WWE Universe, who's next, *TCH. The audacity of her words hung in the air, electrifying the atmosphere. A hush fell over the crowd, quickly replaced by an eruption of cheers and gasps. The reporters scrambled to capture the moment, their fingers flying over keyboards, their cameras clicking rapidly to immortalize the Nightmare's declaration. Beside her, Damian Priest chuckled darkly, his own smirk growing wider. He adjusted the money in the bank briefcase under his arm, the promise of future dominance clear in his stance. Together, they exuded a confidence that bordered on arrogance, a swagger that said they were ready to take on anyone and everyone. But Rhea wasn't done. Her gaze swept over the crowd, daring anyone to challenge her. The Judgment Day had just solidified their reign in Berlin, but she wanted more. She craved the thrill of the fight, the taste of victory, the sight of her opponents broken at her feet. She leaned back into the microphone, her voice low and dangerous. "We're just getting started." The message was clear. This was just the beginning. Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest had no intention of resting on their laurels. They were ready to tear through the WWE roster, to dominate every opponent who dared to step into their path. As they turned to leave, the reporters fired off questions, desperate for more sound bites, more insight into their next move. But Rhea and Damian were already walking away, their minds set on the future. They had said all they needed to say. Now, it was time to act. Back in the locker room, Rhea finally allowed herself a moment to breathe, to process the night's events. She could feel the adrenaline slowly ebbing away, leaving behind a sense of satisfaction, but also a hunger for more. The thrill of the win was addictive, and she was already thinking about the next challenge, the next victim. Damian sat across from her, his eyes gleaming with the same hunger. "You think they got the message?" he asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. Rhea smirked, her eyes dark and full of promise. "Oh, they got it. And if they didn't, they will soon enough." The two shared a knowing look, a silent agreement that this was just the beginning of their reign of terror. They were on the top now, and they intended to stay there, no matter what it took. As the night wore on and the arena slowly emptied, Rhea Ripley knew one thing for certain: the Judgment Day was far from over. And anyone who thought otherwise was in for a rude awakening. The world had better be ready, because Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest were coming for them all. And when they did, there would be no mercy. With one last glance at her championship, Rhea leaned back, her mind already plotting the next move, the next win. The nightmare was far from over, and she was more than ready to make sure everyone remembered exactly why they called her that. "Who's next?" she whispered to herself, a wicked grin spreading across her face. Whoever it was, they didn't stand a chance.